Hello and welcome to this Public Sector Innovation Week talk. My name's Andy Bell. I'm the CEO and founder at HelpFirst. I'm going to talk about how AI saved Citizens Advice Scotland £400,000 a year and another story or two. A lot of people heard a lot of AI hype and beginning to wonder, where can it make a difference? Hopefully this talk will show some of the ways it can have real world impacts on public services, hugely for the better. So here's the first case study. So we helped with the Scottish Citizens Advice Helpline. When we started talking to them, there was a particular problem. So Citizens Advice Scotland works on a local basis. It's 59 local charities, but in the course of lockdown, they needed to have a national helpline. And the way they implemented a national helpline was they created a sort of virtual call centre staffed by advisors and volunteers from the local citizens advice bureaus. There are a few problems with this as a setup. Firstly, it was taking, so the calls would come in and the virtual national helpline would do an initial triage. They'd put the call information the on the CRM, which would then be picked up by the local Citizens Advice Bureau probably the next morning if they remembered to look in the right place. And at that point, the advisor from the Bureau would call the citizen back who needed advice. Three problems with this. Firstly, it would take 24 hours to get the call back. It didn't really live up to the expectations of the helpline, particularly if the person was engaged at the time or they'd sort of moved on. Secondly, the whole concept of the national helpline, people didn't want to be press ganged into working on this triaging contact center job. People at Citizens Advice want to be advising local people. Thirdly, there's a batch of spaghetti and messy systems that meant that sometimes calls would get lost. Using AI, we were able to completely revamp this process. We put in place an AI telephone bot that would answer a call, ask for the first part of someone's address, their postcode, and then route them directly to whichever local bureau is relevant. So this would take 30 seconds. Let me just show you how that worked in practice. So I think you can see that's a seamless user experience. When we started working on it, there was a worry about the Scottish voice. Apparently, it's one of the hardest voices for AI to deal with, but it passed with flying colours. In fact, it was extraordinary. On the first day, we could hear some calls, and it's literally better than human level. There were postcodes where I couldn't tell if it's someone that said a G or a J, and the voice AI got it right, and the person was like, "Yeah, that's right." So um, what do we achieve here? So it reduced operational costs from about £450,000 a year to £40,000 a year. And that was it only took 3 months to do the whole project. So it was a real quick win. As you've seen, it reduced the connection time from over 24 hours to 1 minute. It's a huge service improvement, and it eradicated this unpopular, error-prone step from the process, freeing up advisors to do the frontline work, the stuff they really wanted to do. George, our director at Citizens Advice Scotland, described this as transformative for the network. And that'll lead on to the second project we're working on, also for Citizens Advice, also in this customer service area, but with a slightly different focus. So, Extra Help Unit is a team of approximately Extra Help Unit is a team of about 50 people working in Glasgow, and they're a second line advice service for energy complaints. So people get referred from the Energy Ombudsman, from local citizens advice bureaus. A typical caller might be someone like Dan. So imagine you're working in a contact centre. Dan phones up. Dan is a chef. He lost his job a month ago. He's got behind with his bills, and so he's getting a little bit nervous about the situation. It's affecting his mental health, particularly because he got a disconnection notice. And what really puts him at risk is one of his children relies on insulin, which has to be kept in the fridge. So disconnection is a particular stress for him. That's not the only person that Extra Help Unit, a caseworker, would be dealing with. They'd also be dealing with someone like Fatima, who's a pensioner with COPD, someone like Susie, who's got a newborn baby and can't afford to turn the radiators on. In fact, if you're a caseworker, you're not just dealing with these 3 people, you might be dealing with like 50 or 70 open cases. So however passionate you are about looking after these people, it's just an awful lot of people to keep in your head, particularly when you don't see nice pictograms like this to remind you of who you're talking about. When you log on in the morning, you see something like this. One of our advisors described this as name soup. It's just this undifferentiated mass of people, all of whom need help, some of them urgently, and you don't know who. Day in, day out, this causes a lot of stress. So here's our solution. Here's what we're working on at the moment. The first part of the HelpFirst solution is prioritization. So we've worked really hard with AHU workshop, both with managers and with frontline support staff, to work out how they're really prioritizing people, and then use machine learning to mimic that prioritization. So at least you know where to start in the morning. It reduces the chance of people slipping through the net. The second feature, and this is the one the caseworkers really love, is what we call risk alerts. So, okay, here's Dan's case. You can see his immediate priority because not only is it immediate risk of disconnection, but there's a medical reason for needing the electricity to be on. But the risk alerts are what really help. So here we see there's an equipment, a family, a health, and a financial risk alert having been brought out from the case notes. And a caseworker could roll over one of these to see, oh, okay, the equipment risk was there's a refrigerator required for his son's insulin. This is super useful when you're switching between cases at speed, some of which have like up to 30, 40, 50 pages of case notes. Just being able to pull out the most relevant, salient details reduces the burden and reduces the stress. This is just the start of what we're building, because I think once a case is no longer a black box, there's lots you can do. I think there's opportunities in terms of reporting, opportunities in terms of management. So here's one example, a supervisor view. The supervisor's got 6 people. Now they can see not just how many cases are on each person, but how many high pressure cases, high priority cases. So Jacob's got 29 cases, Claire's got 34. It might, without HelpFirst, you might think, well, Jacob's the person to give the new case to. With HelpFirst, you see he's almost got 50% high priority 1 cases, so he probably needs to be kept off having new cases given to him. So here's where we are at with this project. We're really excited about the scale. We think we can be helping 12,000 people per year. HelpFirst won a CivTech 8 competition, so we beat 19 other organisations in an open government procurement process. I'm a huge fan of CivTech. It's almost like the X Prize for government. Scottish Government every 6 months publishes 8 to 10 problems as an open call for entrepreneurs and technology innovators to try and find solutions to different problems. We started building this project in June 2023. Version 1 has just gone live now. It's taken quite a while in terms of particularly data governance, data access. Citizens Advice Scotland are very keen to be really setting the standard, setting a high bar in terms of ethical use of data. But I think we're on the road to create something really special, something that improves service levels, better looks after caseworkers, and generally improves outcomes. So a few bits of feedback from George Holmes, who's our main point of contact at Extra Help Unit. HelpFirst will be super useful in capturing high-level health risks. It will help us identify cases that need quick attention, and it really has uncovered a lot of things about the service and the challenges around how we prioritize a priority. More broadly, these are the areas we're looking to address. We're looking at client experience, safeguarding, staff morale, intangible organization-wide costs, and this kind of enablement and efficiency. There's so many things. I think like casework is based around notes and reams of text, often lots of caseworkers dealing with the same client. And so you're building up this pattern of having dozens and dozens of interactions, each of which may have pages of case notes. It'd be really hard to summarize it into one consistent whole. I think large language models here just have such a really exciting opportunity to change the state of the art, really help people and ensure that, in particular, the most vulnerable people get the priority they deserve. That's a whistle-stop tour. Just a tiny bit about HelpFirst. So we're on a mission to use machine learning to improve the experiences and outcomes of vulnerable people and those who work with them. I think that's where we can help most. The caseworkers, the managers, the people who are running the systems that are set up to look after vulnerable people. We'd love to talk to anyone who's in this area. We're learning quickly, and we're kind of in a customer development phase. So we're talking to as many different people as possible to understand what the product needs to do to be as generalizable and as widely beneficial as possible. So if you're working in a casework situation, if you're dealing with a lot of clients, if you can see the benefit of what we're doing, I'd absolutely love to get in touch or have a conversation. Or if you know people who are in that realm, please point them our way, point this presentation to them. We really are all ears at the moment. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate your time. Hopefully I'll be able to answer some questions online. And if not, email me, andy@helpfirst.ai. Thank you very much for your time.